Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host live from St. Louis, Missouri, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning, my friend.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're back in Wonka's office, I see.
I like it. I like it in the TV room.
Yeah. It's good. It's definitely the coolest of the backgrounds, like I said. I remain here in St. Louis. Pushed our flight back 2 days, so I've got the not on ceiling fan behind me of the guest bedroom, and you have Wonka's office at Walt's house. You have I love like the picture that's over what I guess would be your right shoulder. That's definitely one that's definitely one of those fabric pictures, right? The one of the flowers that can you feel it?
Oh, that one?
Yeah. Or is it a painting?
It's not a fabric.
Painting?
Yeah, it's a painting.
Oh, look at that. Duped by the picture. It looks like one of those things that somebody sews together.
Yeah, I can't remember how long it's been this way as far as the wall. But I was thinking, there's a bedroom in the basement. Just redo that into the Midwest studio, right?
Into the Dirty Sports Midwest studio.
Yeah,
and just stay.
Have a satellite, like a satellite studio.
Now, you had messaged me yesterday. You just said, "Don't go back." It was like a weird scene out of Lost. You're like, "You can't go back, Joe. You can't go back."
Well, you extended your stay. You did about 10 days in St. Louis?
Yeah, 9.
So I'm just saying, it seems like that Midwest quality of life is growing on you.
I gotta say, one thing I enjoy about St. Louis, lots of Italian delis.
They do.
This is a very Italian town.
Well, it's interesting. It's a very German town like Cincinnati, but there are a lot of Italian delis.
Yeah.
Like, have you been to the area is called the Hill?
Yeah.
The Italian area.
Couple days in a row up on the Hill, including yesterday. I got a hot salami and hot roast beef sandwich on cheesy garlic bread. I'm like, yeah, I could hang out here for a little bit.
Yeah. I like I said, I've always been a big fan, a big advocate of St. Louis. It's a good town, and good baseball fans, right? Arguably the best fans in baseball.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, you watched the 30 for 30? Did you end up ever watching the McGwire Sosa thing?
I still haven't.
It's pretty good. Actually, I think the best part of the whole documentary was McGwire explaining how he ended up returning to St. Louis, because they traded for him midseason, at the trading deadline as a rental, and everybody basically thought, and he kind of thought for sure as well, he was going to become a free agent and probably go to the Angels because he's from SoCal.
Yeah.
So when he gets traded to the Cardinals, he goes 2 for his first 40. He's not doing well at all. And after a road trip, he comes back to St. Louis and he isn't hitting at all. And his first at bat, he gets a standing ovation. And he was just like, that was what told me that St. Louis fans were different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well,
them. I mean, look, the best fans in baseball thing, like you said, I guess we'll see during the 60-game season.
Well, let's just jump into it. We do have baseball. It's back, baby. 60 games. We're going to have 40 games in division and then 20 games from that same division in the other league.
Right.
So if you're Mets, you get 40 games against your NFC. And, man, those are my heads at. Against your NL East and then 20 games against the AL East.
Right.
Which I understand, logistical reasons they're going to do that. But we'll see what we got. And here, for anybody who didn't know, this is kind of the breakdown of it. Spring training is going to start July 1st, regular season July 23rd or 24th. I just broke down the games. They're going to try to implement a lot of rules for the COVID stuff as far as social distancing and, how they use the balls, all those sort of things. But one of the crazy rules is that they're going to use the runner starts on second base for the extra innings.
Yeah. It's not going to be for the playoffs, which is nice. I think that would have been ridiculous. And I know this is something that they're test driving in general, but I'm hoping that this ends up. And by the way, I think it's a good rule for this year because with the shortened season, pitchers' arms, players potentially being out sick, just like limited guys, I'm totally fine with trying to shorten the game should it go extra innings. But I really hope that this isn't to stay.
Well, I think something's going to happen. I think baseball, if they're smart, are going to realize the season's too long. I think 60 games is too short, but I think we gotta change something, and I think that's part of the reason. And I know people want to hold on to that 162, and baseball records and statistics are so important, more important in that sport than any other sport. But I think that's part of the problem for the interest in baseball. The season goes on too long, and I think postseason should start about a month early. And I think it'd help them if they're not competing against the NFL and college football. And I'm thinking maybe this 60 games, depending on how people watch it and the ratings and all those things, I think this might be a glimpse of making the season shorter.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I mean, if you look at the way the owners have handled this, the owners wanted to have a 2-game season and then go to the playoffs. They're like top 25 teams in each division make it, in each league make it. Basically, we're going to play 2 games. If you sweep your 2 games, you're in. If you will go 1-1, you're a wild card. If you go 0-2, you're out. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I don't necessarily think that – I mean, I'm sure a lot of games limits the amount of interest to some degree. But I don't think anybody's not watching baseball because they're like, man, if it was only 125 games, I'd be really into it. I think, again, like I always say, like my biggest thing with baseball is they're overcharging for their product. They're even blacking out games on on TV this year when there's no fans. That's ridiculous. So when the Mets play the Dodgers, if they even will. I'm not sure they even will. But
well, they won't, not in the regular season.
Yeah. So those games are going to be like a game like that or whoever playing, I won't be able to watch it on MLB, whatever the stupid game cast thing is because of blackouts. Like I can't even go to the game. How are you going to black me out? So baseball is mismanaged on a million levels. Do I think that 125 games or 140 games or whatever it is could potentially help them? Yeah, because it seems like they don't know how to make money serving their product. Like, if you would think anything, like look at the NFL. The NFL's going, let's play 18 games. Let's play 20 games. How many games can you force people to play before they will die of CTE on the field?
Well, I think the NFL –
that's the difference between a sport that's well run and one that's not.
Well, also, I don't know if that's the fairest comparison, and I've heard that and seen that because obviously it's 2 completely different sports. One only plays 16, 17 games now, and one plays a lot. But the games do matter. I think as a fan, I think complacency happens when there's so many games. Does that make sense? It's almost reverse psychology, if this makes any sense. As a fan, I think you say, oh, I have so many opportunities to go to the ballpark, which those so many opportunities almost solicit somebody to not go. I know it sounds crazy, but if you know you have 8 home games for your NFL team. You have limited amount of opportunities. It's kind of the same mindset of a free show, right? Especially in comedy, we talk about this. You're more prone to get an audience to show up if they paid a value on a ticket, because that means something to them, right? Than just a free ticket.
I still say that the problem with baseball is them trying to strategize how many games is the perfect number of games to play to get everybody with even loose interest in our franchise to show up for one game a season. When baseball's strategy should be, if we play 162 games, how do we get people out to the ballpark once a month? How do we get people out to the ballpark 5 times a year?
Yeah.
And the answer is, again, not making me have to, remortgage my house to go to a ballpark because I have 3 kids and hot dogs are $15 each and parking is literally one of my children. And that, which is good because now I save on hot dogs in the inside that I had to give you one of them to park. But now I need 10 beers because I need to get over the fact that I just gave my child away to park. So that's, weighing on me. So now I just drank $200 worth of beers. Oh, you like a michelada? That's going to be a $14 upcharge. Do you want to sit in a seat that actually has a view of the game? Well, now we're talking about bonus prices.
And look, obviously, I wholeheartedly agree with you there. They need to curb the prices on everything. The minute you hit the ballpark to the minute you exit, the prices are out of control, and they need to make it family friendly. And you and I know this. I mean, how many games have we attended? We attended last year at the Astros game. I think it was dollar Nolan Ryan hot dog night. Place was packed.
Yeah.
And the lines were packed for the hot dogs, which everybody wins. It's such an easy concept that it's almost too easy that they mess it up.
Right. Now, I don't disagree with you that they're going to that they'll probably take this opportunity to shorten it, but I think that I don't necessarily think that's a mistake. I just think that they're too dumb to take advantage of the schedule that they do have. There was obviously a time that 162 games was profitable.
Sure.
So, I mean, they didn't just select 160. They didn't just decide to go up from 152 or whatever it was for 144 to, they kept climbing. It kept climbing.
Well,
so
look, it's still profitable. But baseball is still, baseball's still making the trajectory of how the earnings and the revenue, they're still making more money every year than they ever have.
Right. But that's TV deals.
True.
That's the postseason. That's all the stuff that comes. That's signing up for the, the package. That's everything that goes along with it. What we learned from this negotiation down to 60 games was they're not making that much on people coming to the ballpark. And that's why they don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, we do have the World Series odds. And I'm just going to briefly go
Which
through
is
a few.
amazing. Again, how do you charge $12 for a hot dog and still not make money on that person?
Yeah.
You're selling them 11 cents worth of pig snouts. And for $12,
well,
the margins are pretty big, guys.
They're still making money. I don't trust. I don't. Me. There's a big lack of trust of what they're actually making and what they're claiming they're making.
Right.
But we do have the World Series odds, and I'll go through them briefly. The top few. So
before we get to the World Series odds, did you find out what the odds are of you, me, and Andy Lazarus ending up on Major League Baseball rosters because so many people come down with coronavirus?
No, but I think we have a fair shot.
I think we do. I think Laz is a great shot, honestly.
Yeah.
I think my knee injury is probably putting me at even money with you right now, which is sad, with your baby hands. But I think we're on the list. That's for sure.
Yeah, and now I'm using the term allegedly when it comes to sports, right? Like baseball will start July 23rd, allegedly.
Yeah.
Because I think, as we know, and we'll discuss this more with the NFL, everything is up in the air.
Yeah.
With the rise of the number of cases. So the World Series odds, the leader is the Dodgers, which was also the Dodgers a few months ago. So we have the Dodgers are the World Series favorites at plus 380. The Yankees come in second at plus 400. The Astros plus 800. The Braves 1,400. The Twins plus 1,600. The Rays plus 1,700, along with the Nationals.
Wow.
Then your Mets are at plus 2,200. Oakland 2,500, along with the Phillies and Cardinals. Then you get the Indians at plus 2,600. The Cubs at plus 2,800 with the Reds. So those are your World Series favorites. Not much faith in the Nationals. Now, the Nationals started out pretty slowly. I believe I saw a stat that the Nationals were like 4 or 5 games under 500 last year after 60 games.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the NL East is definitely a difficult division. Everybody last year, hilariously, was like, the Phillies are going to win the World Series. They got Bryce Harper. And I remember laughing about that until I passed out. But, the Braves have been really good the last couple of years. The Mets, honestly, I don't know, and I know I'm a homer, but I don't know how the Mets aren't the favorites just based on the fact alone that they don't even have to play a game in June. The Mets, in the last 2 seasons, I think, lost 60 games combined in the month of June. Without the month of June, the Mets are going to be hard to beat. So between the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, obviously the Marlins are a non-factor. The Nationals repeating, even as division, they didn't even win the division last year. But, getting in is going to be tough. So I'm not really that surprised.
Yeah.
But we shall see. They also lost some big players in Rendon. And so we'll see. But I sadly am excited for baseball to come back, but also I don't know. This is like a girlfriend I broke up with that now we're getting back together. I'm a little timid about this. I don't want to be hurt again.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel when baseball actually starts.
Well, I'm hoping to possibly go to a game. It's depending on the city or the county or the state. Now, some have said they allow fans. Illinois has said this week you can do 20% capacity. I'm sorry, they said that last week maybe for sports events. But again, that's changing by the day as well.
I love that Illinois says they can do 20% capacity, and the White Sox are like, how are we gonna get 20% of people in here?
Yeah, I know. Where the Cubs fans are gonna be fighting tooth and nail to fill that 20%. But yeah, I'll see. I'm gonna be here when the season starts. I don't know if they're gonna allow fans down at Great American Ballpark, but I like that mindset, Joe.
That'd be interesting before you even leave town, Andy, to
I know.
Get to Gab. Do they call it the Gab?
No, but I was actually, I've been down there a bunch. I was across the street last week for dinner, and I was walking through. Dude, it was depressing. I was walking through a couple weeks ago. I walked up to the ballpark. You're looking at the Reds are really good with statues. Speaking of statues being taken down, the Reds have so many. I mean, so many. Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Frank Robinson, Joe Morgan. I mean, it's because they had so many good players in some of those eras, and they have so many. But yeah, I would love to catch a game. But I'm just like you. That's a great analogy of it's like being a little scared to get back with the girl. But I want to bring up something real quick. I don't know if you know this. Tomorrow is the 5th year anniversary of you throwing out that ceremonial first pitch to me at Citi Field before the Mets-Reds game.
Is it tomorrow or is it today?
I'm pretty sure it was June 26th, right?
I think 25th was the pitch, 26th was the special.
Really?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure because it was a Friday, right?
It was. Did we do it? Was it the other way around? No. It was a Thursday, and then a Friday was the special?
I know for sure it was a Friday game. I'm looking right now. Yeah, it was June 26th.
Wow.
That was a Friday, 2015. Joe, that was 5 years ago.
Time flies when
you tossed out that pitch.
Absolutely nothing with your life.
Yeah. 5 years ago. It was our first chance to meet the Dirtballs live.
Yeah, our first ever Dirtball meetup.
How much has changed? How much has my outfit, my look changed, Joe?
I know. Did you wear cargo shorts onto the field that day?
No, I think I wore jeans. But I wore those glasses, those sunglasses, which you and the Dirtballs used to always roast me.
Oh yeah, those glasses. Jesus, those things.
I
You
mean,
remember those? Your CSI Miami's, your David Caruso's.
yeah, a lot has changed. It's crazy to think that was 5 years ago. But I will definitely, for our newer Dirtballs, I will definitely post on Twitter and Instagram tomorrow some pictures to relive the memories. And you know what? That puts me in a good mood, Joe. And I know every time you're in a good mood, I know what you like to drink. A nice, cold, refreshing Miller Lite. There it is.
Look, I realize that it's 9:55 a.m. local time here, but couple things. One, I'm on vacation. Two, we're still technically in a pandemic. And three, and most importantly, time isn't real.
Yeah.
You know, the 24-hour clock means nothing. The whole it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I don't even buy into 5 o'clock somewhere, because who is going to shame me into saying that 5 o'clock is randomly selected as an appropriate time to enjoy the world's finest Pilsner? No, I've been drinking since I got up this morning. And I'll probably, stop early in the day and just take a break around noon. But
well, like you said, you're on vacation.
yeah,
You're with your girl.
And again, and time isn't real.
You're with your girlfriend's family. You're leisurely having a couple of our favorite beers, Miller Lite, the original light beer. While you're home, enjoy a classic. Available for delivery today. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
So is there like a baseball schedule out, Andy?
There's no schedule out yet.
Because you said Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and part of my plan for this baseball year was to check Milwaukee's Miller Park off my list before it stops being Miller Park. Also to visit our good friends at Miller Lite there in Milwaukee. And I'm wondering if that's still something I'll be able to do.
Yeah, I know.
Because I almost want to go to Milwaukee to check out the Miller Lite brewery than I do want to go see the brewers themselves.
Sure.
I want to go see the real brewers, not the baseball brewers.
Yeah, I feel you.
There's another brewery here in St. Louis. I don't want to name names, but I have refused to go because I'm very loyal to my favorite beer of all time, Miller Lite.
As you should be. And we really appreciate that, Joe. Always a loyal man. A loyal businessman, I should say.
I will eat your toasted raviolis, St. Louis. I will eat your hot meat sandwiches, but I will not go to your breweries.
Well, Prano, you and I spoke too soon the other day. We jinxed it.
What did we jinx?
We said the NFL, everything's moving. They haven't canceled a thing.
Yeah.
And we were wrong as of this morning.
They have canceled the Hall of Fame game, correct?
And also the enshrinement.
Oh, rip. Who was supposed to go in this year?
I don't know. It's a good question. But those were scheduled for the 6th of August. That was going to be a Cowboys-Steelers game, two of the most storied franchises, and the August 8th enshrinement. So here we are, man. The NFL couldn't escape canceling things.
Yeah, look, I still feel like the NFL is our lighthouse, is our sports lighthouse. The Hall of Fame game always took place too early, in my opinion, for those guys' safety, and just, it's like early August that they start playing football. I've never really liked the Hall of Fame game when it occurs. I understand that it's tough to get guys in football there when they have to be basically in training camp a week later. But I think, and also we talked about baseball, maybe realizing that a shorter season is better. Maybe football needs to realize, maybe the NFL needs to realize, we don't need preseason at all.
Well, I definitely think after this year, they're going to drop at the very minimum the 4 preseason games to 2.
Let's hope so.
If they were smart.
Preseason is stupid.
Yeah.
It's just an injury factory. And again, every other level of football, every other level basically doesn't have a preseason game. You tend to play a scrimmage, in high school, college, you play your spring games, you play whatever, but like you play your tune-up games. But the NFL, unlike college football, you're not playing a game week one that is going to determine your whole season.
Yeah.
You would think if anybody was going to have a preseason, it would be college football.
Well, there are some things, developments, because obviously the big question is what's going to happen with fans. And there's some developments that I want to go over, some new stuff that I think is relevant to the show. Tug actually sent me this yesterday. It was an article written from the Sports Business Daily. This is an interesting.
How's Tug doing, by the way? Have you guys been talking?
Good. We talked the other day. He has been using my apartment as his getaway.
Because you don't have Wi-Fi at your apartment, I always picture Tug going in and putting on a writer's cap and having a cigar or a cigarette in a cigarette case and typing on a typewriter. Like I feel like he's some sort of like Hunter Thompson, Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald mashup where he's just there pounding away on a typewriter.
Well, we should explain to the dirtball. So basically, I paused my internet and cable. So that's the joke. So I don't want to pay, the $220 a month that I was paying for that. So Tug goes to my apartment to write. He's working on a screenplay and some other projects, right? And that's why it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi. But he keeps saying he loves it. Like he keeps saying this is so nice because it really forces him to focus. Because when you don't
I'm telling you, I just see him like typewritering by candlelight.
I'm convinced he just has a second life there.
Yeah.
He's
out by the pool. I see Tug like after he finishes a strong page, like hitting your blender and then walking her out with the blender thing with this like frozen margaritas out to the pool in his robe, this slippers on. He's like, everybody, it's that finished Act 1 break. Who wants a margarita?
Yeah, that's what's crazy. I've been gone so long at this point now. I have no clue. I've thought about this. It will have almost been 3 months when I come back. I have no clue what I'm walking into when I open that door the first day. Like, does Tug have a family there?
Yeah.
Does Tug have, like, side girls there?
Does Tug have, like, a screenplay on the wall? Like, it's Charlie and It's Always Sunny. There's strings attaching little pieces of paper.
Like, am I going to walk in? Are girls going to be shirtless weighing cocaine like you see in the movies? You're like, what happened here?
He's like, we're living off the grid here, Andy.
Well, I almost got scared. My apartment complex texted me, and there was a package, and I said, I'm still out of town. And she said, well, we can go into your apartment and drop it off. And there was part of me that was like, do I want them walking in there?
Yeah.
Like what does Tug have going on in my apartment?
Tug's just like, howdy.
Then I get a call. They're like, well, you said you were gone. There's a guy with like
great hair and classically handsome features sleeping on your couch in a bathrobe and empty frozen margarita pitcher next to him.
Yeah, you might want to look into this. Well, he sent me this story to get back to the initial point of something that's being tossed around with the NFL as far as how they're going to handle it. And one of the ideas for this season is that the first 6 to 8 rows of every NFL stadium, which could include suites if the suites are in those areas, will be off limits to fans. But the NFL always capitalizing. What they're talking about doing is covering those seats with tarps, which would include sponsor logos.
Like the U.S. Army, the Los Angeles Police Department.
So basically,
the first Lives Matter.
Yeah, the first 6 to 8 rows would be all your classic sponsors, which I would argue, Joe, after seeing this, if the NFL goes ahead with us and they do this, there's a good chance they could make more money, right, putting the Cialis or the Ford truck or whatever it is sponsor, that they might never go back to having fans sit in the first 6 to 8 rows.
Wild.
Right?
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I don't think those seats personally at a football game, I don't like being that close.
I love it, actually.
I like being a little farther up so I can get an aerial view of the stadium.
Sure, that's great too. But man, I got to say, the last couple times I've gone to Giants games, Danny was nice enough to hook me up with front row seats, and I was like, do I want to be front row? And then I was like, yeah, it's pretty awesome because you get the combo of, first of all, the game is pretty fun to watch from that angle. But also, you're obviously right by the sideline. You get to see a lot of what's going on with the team on the sideline. I really enjoyed it. But typically, you're like, 50-yard line, 30 rows up is where you want to be. But it is pretty fun. And I understand why people pay for it.
Well, speaking of your Giants, did you see this? The Giants are offering season ticket holders for this season the opportunity to skip this year and use those tickets for next year, which I think is a great gesture.
Yeah. With New York being a hotbed, it seems dumb to try to force people to pay, especially if you're going for some sort of socially distant thing. You can only let X amount, maybe solve the problem yourself of saying like, hey, instead of making people keep their tickets and then having to decide which ones get to come, which ones don't, giving people the option. There's probably a lot of people who are struggling financially with everything that's been going on, just going, yeah, I would love a year pause. Maybe like, let's say 30% of your fans do that. You've already cut a big chunk out of people that you now have to say can or can't come to the game.
Yeah, I think it's smart. And that's what the Chargers had told me as well. If, obviously I've already paid for my tickets, but if there's no season.
And you're like, fuck it, let's roll.
Well, obviously if I'm there, I'll go. But if I can't go to games, I can either take a refund of my season tickets or use those for next season, which, I mean, at this point, I'm taking it I'm not even taking it week by week. I'm back to the day by day thing since the recent spikes have happened, right?
Yeah. I'm taking it hour by hour, Andy.
Oh, you're not even day by day.
It's like I said, it's 10 a.m. here. Time isn't even a real thing. I'm taking it sip by sip.
I feel ya. Well, speaking of sip by sip, Ben Roethlisberger claims he was addicted to booze and porn.
And you would know that if you've ever looked at Ben Roethlisberger. I feel like if your apartment did have Wi-Fi, that Tug Cooker would look like Ben Roethlisberger right now.
So he came out at this conference and he said that I've been addicted to alcohol. I've been addicted to pornography. You're going to love this. Which makes me then not the best husband, not the best father, and not the best Christian I can be.
Oh, wow. I threw that in at the end, huh?
Oh, yeah. You have to dedicate yourself and understand that you can get out of it because of the grace of God. So here's what I find interesting, and shout out to our boy Robert Littell from Black Sports Online for pointing this out. So Ben goes on this huge thing about he wasn't where he wanted to be emotionally, and he had these addictions, which whatever. I'm not going to make fun of anybody for that. I'm not going to fault anybody for whether it's an alcohol, drug, sex, porn addiction, whatever it is. But what I'm going to fault Ben for is he's making all these strong statements and he's being revealing. Doesn't even mention the two times that we know of that he sexually assaulted, raped, whatever it is, people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, dude, everything that's going on today, I know we touched on it last episode, but like, it's crazy to think that if you got accused of something and there was heavy evidence of something, but it happened like 7 years ago, you are somehow grandfathered in to being like acceptable. Even if, by the way, they find something that you did from before that, as long as you were already accused of it and we already went through this, like Ben Roethlisberger, there's a lot of evidence that he did a lot of bad things, rape, sexual assault, all this stuff, but they brought it up like 10 years ago, so it's fine now. Meanwhile, if it comes out tomorrow that a different quarterback had text messaged a girl something, that's it, you're canceled. You're out of football forever.
I mean, that's a great point. You said it best last episode. This weird invisible line and these odd timelines, they just don't add up. And it's crazy. If he's going to be so contrite and so honest, and I appreciate that from anybody, and then just completely ignore these other things, it's you know, take it for what you want it. Like for me, I don't, it doesn't mean much to me.
I mean, can my thing just be like, I still think Ben Roethlisberger is a piece of shit?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's going to be my stance. I mean, when you read again, you know, every couple times a year when stand-up comedy, does anybody remember laughter, was still a thing, I would go to Harvey's Casino to do those shows in Tahoe. That when you're there and you end up like I think one day I was there, I was just like, hey, I'm going to Wikipedia Harvey's because like let's learn about the place I'm staying. Couple fun things. It was once blown up by a bomb, and that's where Ben Roethlisberger, you know, had a concierge come to his room, throw her against the wall, and rape her. Yeah.
So Ben's things go back to 2009 and 2010. So you're right. It's like those were the two instances from about 9 or 10, 11 years ago. And it's this weird line.
But he already answered for them, so that we don't have to revisit that. But we hadn't talked about Jimmy Fallon doing blackface in 2000, so now he has to apologize.
Yeah. Such bullshit. I can't.
It's absurd.
I can't. That's my thing, man. I was actually texting with, and I had a good phone call with Goldberg the other day as well. And I told him, I was like, that's my thing, man.
Talk about a guy who doesn't want his creepy comedian texts to come out, huh? Matty Goldberg.
You know what? I don't think he's got much there. I don't think that's the type of guy he is.
I don't know.
I don't think that's the type of guy Goldberg is.
Matty has told me the length of his genitalia from his asshole. So,
but that's to you.
Your balls.
Again, that's to you just being. That's just him being a funny comedian.
Yeah.
I do have some sad news for my friends from Detroit, though. Continuing on our NFL segment, Joe.
Okay.
The Lions will continue the same family ownership. The Lions.
Like why? I'm not sure. So somebody stepped down, but there's never a like somebody's going to sell the team or anything, right?
No, and that's my joke. And I, as someone being from Cincinnati who has dealt with the Brown family, it's the same situation in Detroit. It's this family-owned team that just wallows in mediocrity / poor play year after year. The Lions, which I'd forgotten, the Lions owner, Martha Firestone, by the way, who's 94, is stepping down to give it to her daughter, who is 69, Sheila Ford Hamp. And I read some of these quotes, and how I feel about the Lions, like, it's embarrassing. The Lions, take a guess the last time the Lions won a playoff game.
1990.
In the Lions' time, since the Ford family took them over, the Ford family, William Clay Ford, obviously from Ford Motors, took the team over in 1963. In that time frame, the Lions have won one playoff game since 1963.
Wow.
They haven't won a division title since 1993.
Wow.
I didn't know it was this bad. They've won one playoff game since 1963.
Free Matthew Stafford. Can we just do this? Can we, like, I've solved something. Trade Matthew Stafford immediately for Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers get significantly better, if you ask me, and the Lions get a guy who's addicted to porn and booze, who raped people but refuses to admit it, who can't keep himself looking like a human being. Now that's the face of the Detroit Lions franchise.
I will say that face really does mimic the team. Listen to what the new owner said.
He's like, yeah, I live in Detroit. That's why I look like this. And then people are like, Detroit's coming around. We're really turning this city around.
Let me read some of these quotes, Prano. These are just these are a microcosm of the Lions organization. So the new owner, Sheila Ford Hamp, says this: I'm going to do everything in my power to create a winning organization, especially on the field. The fans deserve it. The city deserves it. I am a very competitive person. I grew up playing competitive tennis. It's an individual sport, and me out there by myself, and I hated to lose. I still hate to lose. What? So the daughter of a billionaire played tennis growing up, and that's what she's using as motivation for the Lions?
I'm speechless.
No, it gets even worse.
Just imagine their next great player, probably Matthew Stafford, who's like, I'm retiring. And she's like, what? And he's like, I'm retiring. Like Megatron and Barry Sanders before me, I can't do this anymore. You guys are terrible. It's a terrible organization. Also, I don't want to live in Detroit anymore. Our color scheme is terrible. Our franchise history is terrible. The city's terrible. I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. And she's like, look, I remember when I was down 3-1 in the Ford Motor Company Country Club Championships. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was me against my sister in the championship because my great-grandfather had rigged it so. And I thought, no way I'm going to let Lucy beat me. And it was much like the Williams sisters, except without any color or tennis skill whatsoever. But I overcame. And he's like, yeah, I'm still retiring.
Wait until you hear this quote. She also said this: this is going to be kind of a weird year. So I don't want to say anything about wins and losses.
Okay.
I think the overachieving thing is what we want to see, major improvement. And at this point, I can't really say what the specific measures are going to be because I don't know what the season is going to be like yet. But believe me, major improvement is the goal.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. So they want to improve the team from a team that's won one playoff game in the last 60 years. That's good. Well, I mean, you can't say she's not saying all the right things.
But it's not about wins and losses.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what it's about. And your team has one playoff win since 1963, since your family took it over. Okay, so I'm really big into Succession right now.
Yeah. I can't believe another Andy's late to the party.
Well, I was never anti. I just hadn't watched it. I had heard a lot of good things. So I'm on season 2 through the first 5 episodes, just to kind of give you a time frame. Great show. But like the Lions are, to me, which character are they the equivalent of the family, of the Roy family? Like I feel like they're a mixture of like Kieran Culkin's crazy, weird sex thing that you're like, what, meets Connor's just stupidity, meets Kendall's drug addiction.
I feel like they're mostly Kendall's drug addiction.
Kendall's drug addiction.
I feel like they're mostly Kendall's, just like it's been handed to them on a silver platter, but they fucked it up. I mean, you're in Detroit. The Ford Motor Company buys you or starts running you, and like you have everything you need to succeed, and you just duff it. Also, there's nothing likable about you guys at all.
Yeah.
Kendall is super wealthy, obviously, and has been given everything. He can't even keep a wife. Like his wife is Barry Sanders. She's like, I know you're worth like billions, but I gotta go. I just can't do this.
I love that analogy. Spot on.
Meanwhile, while we're doing succession comps, Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is definitely cousin Greg, right?
I like it. I like it. I mean, yeah. Good show, by the way. I don't want you to reveal anything because I got 5 more episodes left, I think, of the second season. I got myself hooked. I got my brother Brad hooked.
How many? There's what, 3 seasons so far?
There's 2.
2. Okay.
So I only need 5 more episodes.
Got it.
And now I've compared.
So much has happened in 2 seasons.
So much. I've compared the children of the Roy family to us, my own family. And I think we've deemed it that I'm Macaulay Culkin. Or I keep doing it. Yeah, I'm Roman.
Yeah, you look like him.
Like, I'll have occasionally a good idea, but I got some really weird quirks. I'm always dicking around too much. Who would you be? Would you call yourself Shiv? I already know you're going to say this.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about it, but I don't know. That's a great question. I'd have to think on it a little more. I don't think I'm fucked up enough to be any of them.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, Prano, let's talk a little NBA. Now, certain guys are not playing. More people are testing positive, but I thought this was an interesting one for a title contender. Avery Bradley's not going to play.
Wild.
He's been a significant contributor this year. Great defender. Now, and I understand, and actually, I have mad props to him. So I guess his son has health issues.
Yeah.
And
specifically respiratory issues or something like that.
Correct. So his son would not be allowed in the bubble. And he chose family over the game. And obviously, mad props to him for that. And that's not an easy choice.
Family over the game.
So that's a huge piece to take away. And obviously the Lakers have a rotating guard set with him, Rondo, Caruso.
But I actually think he is a huge loss for them, just from a stability, from a veteran standpoint, from a guy who, like, he's not going to have a huge game ever, but like, again, veteran stability, as opposed to like they're talking about, obviously the guys who are circling out there, the J.R. Smiths, for example. It's like the complete opposite kind of player, a guy that doesn't defend at all, a guy that gives you no stability, a guy who gives you whatever the opposite of leadership is, a veteran still, but just a guy who's going to come in and fuck it up.
Couldn't agree more. And when this news broke and people were instantly saying, J.R. Smith, I don't know what people see in him. Like you said, when you're going to go out and get a veteran and add a veteran to your team, you want a veteran, like you said, that's like Avery Bradley, who's going to bring stability, who's going to bring common sense. Let's just start there.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I think J.R. Smith as a person is hilarious.
I think if J.R. Smith's son had respiratory issues, he's not choosing family over the game.
Exactly. And look, I have nothing against J.R. Smith. I'm sure he's a fun guy to
He's
hang
like,
out.
yo, but I was thinking, I know this is crazy, but hear me out. What if I put my son in a bubble in the bubble? Like, I watched that movie Bubble Boy, right? Like, my son in a bubble, double bubble, like the gum.
Without a shirt.
Just a little double bubble.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking
Hold on, I got to go. There's a guy standing by my car.
We're talking about a guy who didn't know what time it was in the game of an NBA Finals game.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the replacement of a guy who brings defense, leadership, not erratic play. That's the thing with J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith can just be erratic.
Yeah. I mean, I think what the Lakers see in him is obviously he has a relationship with LeBron and he can shoot, I guess, a little. And if you're going to surround LeBron with shooters, it's always a thing. And he does have the experience of playing, but like it almost feels like the game tape of his experience deep in playoffs is why you don't want him there. When was the last time we had a big J.R. Smith game where he was like, well, he was the difference?
I was literally going to bring that up. I mean, he had some flashes of good games. I remember in the 2016 playoffs when the Cavs won. But again,
it's 4 years ago.
Exactly. 4 years ago, and also he's almost that guy when JR gets the ball, if I'm a Lakers fan or if I'm rooting for the team he's on, he's almost the guy, Prano, where in my head I'm thinking, don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up. Right? And then occasionally he'll bang out a great three, and you'll be like, yeah. I don't know, though. I think I think that loss is going to be huge. But I also think guys like Caruso and Rondo are just really going to have to step it up.
And I think this NBA season, and, in some regards, probably the baseball season and the NHL season and the NFL season, if we're still doing this, is going to be completely shifted by guys who get sick or don't want to play or whatever. Like the idea that, you have perfectly crafted salary caps down to the dollar, and then some guy just goes, I'm out, just replace me with somebody from nowhere. Now, I understand injuries happen, but this is like a totally different situation. I mean, Avery Bradley isn't sick.
No, you're right. And to add on to that, I also don't want to take anything away from people who play well and who win. I've seen a lot of talk about that, especially with baseball, and even somewhat with the NBA, right? Like, there should be an asterisk next to the NBA champ this year, or the World Series champ this year, or the Major League Baseball's MVP. I think that's bullshit. Look,
I don't think there should be an asterisk. I think there should be a mask asterisk. I think it should just be the emoji with the mask on. Why are we still using asterisks and stars and the little cross thing? We have emojis these days. The emoji with the medical mask next to all championships for this year.
You really did it, didn't you?
Yeah.
You really had to go there.
I mean, I think we should be using emojis way more in record books and as historical logs. Think about how many emojis there are. Think about how, you can say anything. We can put the little poop one next to the baseball season. 60 games, little poop emoji, little poop with eyes.
Prano, you jumped the shark. This show officially jumped the shark. The mask emoji, you jumped it.
Okay.
You've been spending too much time in the Midwest.
I'm doing dad jokes.
Yeah, you're doing dad jokes. Well, you referenced history, and I got to bring this thing up. I want to pivot the show a little bit.
And he's like, you referenced history, so I got to bring up these statues should stay.
I didn't say that. But I'm fired up. And I talked about this the other day, something that hits home for me.
Now, did you talk about it in the episode that was published or the episode that wasn't published, or not? Both?
I don't know, to be honest. That's a great question. Monday is kind of a blur.
I know. I remember some good bits. Like, it's funny because I got a couple of really great messages from folks since Monday's show saying how good the episode was, and I didn't want to respond with like, "Oh, you should have heard the one you didn't hear." But
I will say, I agree with you. I think the one that we lost was better. By the way, are you recording this episode now too as our backup?
I'm not. We should have definitely done that.
Because I'm a little concerned because my computer, it's saying the thing is full. I hope it can process this.
Should I start recording right now?
I don't know if you can. Can you?
Yeah, it said request recording permission from host. I think if you go to participants and hit and give me recording privileges.
Well, at this point, we're literally almost an hour into the show.
Better safe than sorry. How did we not think about this before this started?
Because we have too much on our mind, Joe. Did you get that?
I did, and I'm recording now.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Worst case scenario, we'll have the second
minutes?
half of the show.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, I think I did mention this on the episode Monday that actually was released. The hypocrisy surrounding former Cincinnati Reds owner Marge Schott.
So I have seen. You told me about it, and then I've seen some other things. Now your thing was the, like a school was taking down her thing. Is that correct?
Correct. So Marge Schott, former Reds owner.
Now, is something happening at the Reds stadium too? Are they taking her name? No.
There was no association with Marge Schott for the Reds.
Okay. So
besides the fact that she used to own the team.
So this is all at a school.
University of Cincinnati's baseball stadium.
Okay. The University of Cincinnati's baseball stadium is named after Marge Schott.
So Marge Schott, in 2006, she was already dead at this point. Her family foundation had donated $2 million.
Zombie Marge Schott donated to the baseball
$2 million to the University of Cincinnati's baseball stadium, probably for the new stadium. And, it was named after her, which it was actually named Johnny Bench Field before that. So think about Johnny Bench, arguably the best catcher of all time. They changed the name. And this is important to the story that no one's talking about. And we're going to be the only ones talking about this. Johnny Bench, arguably the best catcher of all time.
Did he go to the University of Cincinnati?
No.
Okay.
But maybe he made a donation.
Right.
This is my point about all the hypocrisy. Was changed to being named after the late Reds owner, Marge Schott, right? So they released this statement, the University of Cincinnati president. They say, Marge Schott's record of racism and bigotry stands at stark odds with our university's core commitment to dignity, equality, and inclusion.
Now, Marge Schott, for people who don't know, while she was the owner of the Reds, she's like one of the first people to get canceled.
And that's what I want to bring up, Joe.
But not really, because nothing
she was.
Really.
They forced her out.
They forced her to sell the team?
Yeah.
But that was much after the stuff came out, or no?
No, she continued to say racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic stuff. I mean, she was across the board.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm going to offend every group.
She was the machine gun.
She was. So it got to the point in the late 90s where Major League Baseball.
Like, we can't do this anymore.
They were. They said, we can't handle this woman. And she was forced to sell the team. And she did in 99. They forced her out, which was a big deal at the time because at the time she was the only female owner of all of Major League Baseball.
Now, if that happened, she would definitely be able to keep the team just for the whole misogyny thing. They'd be like, we can't get rid of the only woman. Women have a voice. And even if that voice is super racist and sexist and homophobic, she must stay. Women must have a voice.
So this is my problem with the University of Cincinnati.
Can we say the dog said it? Can we say it was Shotzi? She was talking in a sort of Son of Sam situation that Shotzi was speaking to her, because we really can't get rid of her.
So she had said all this crazy stuff years before she donated the money. And that's where I'm angry. And again, Joe, keeping the theme of me and you just calling out the hypocrisy and the bullshit.
Marge Schott, I'm the worst female owner of all time. The entire Ford family. Hold our $49 beers.
Let me just read some of these awful Marge Schott.
Hold our 1967 NFC Central Division title.
These are some of the Marge Schott quotes, by the way, which she said long before she gave that money. It starts off with an anti-woman quote. Some of the biggest problems in this city come from women wanting to leave the home and work.
Wow. Hot take.
Which, by the way, is the least offensive of these.
Yeah, we're starting slow. She's like, women, stay home with your chili bowls and your cinnamon, and this whole city will be doing much better.
Her next quote is, sneaky goddamn Jews are all alike.
Wow. I think we just got canceled. I don't even think can we even quote Marge Schott in the show without getting canceled?
Her next one, I can't even say all the words.
Once again, for listeners of the show, a quote by Marge Schott. This is a quote by Marge Schott.
Here's an awful, horribly racist one. Never hire another N-word. I'd rather have a trained monkey working for me than an N-word.
Canceled. Again, a quote by Marge Schott. So she said all this stuff. And here's a question: is the University of Cincinnati's baseball field becoming Johnny Bench Stadium again?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Or are they going with? Because it was funny that Schott came in and Bench was moved to the bench. If Bench was renamed the starter, that'd be.
I agree. Now here's a homophobic one.
Once again, a quote by former Reds owner Marge Schott. This is a quote by Marge Schott.
This is one I remember opening the newspaper as a kid in middle school, probably 10 years before she donated the money, and seeing this in the headline of the Cincinnati Enquirer being, wow.
The headline, of course, being a quote by Marge Schott,
which read, "Only fruits wear earrings." And her last one, which again I remember as a kid, as a 10-year, this puts it in context.
Was that like a shot at Eric Davis?
Yeah. And her and Eric Davis have a huge history, and Eric has talked about that. How he's like, she said the most racist things, but she also loved me. Like Eric Davis actually he released new statements. He's like, it's complicated. Like, she scarred me for life, but she also loved me. It was like crazy.
Sounds like Eric Davis had some Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, it's a bad situation.
What we're referring to, we're going to call it skyline syndrome.
By the way, this is the last one, which I remember as a 10-year-old kid. Wow, that's fucked up. But hey, the University of Cincinnati didn't care 10 years later when they accepted the money. Her quote of, "Everybody knows Hitler was good at the beginning." But again, a quote by Marge Schott to everybody. Please continue, Andy. Well, people can edit this out in any way they want, so whatever. Marge Schott said, "Everybody knows Hitler was good at the beginning, but he just went too far." By the way, I'm reading something on Marge Schott here in this article, which I didn't know. Schott was born in 1928. She was a third-generation German-American. Multiple of her cousins fought for the Axis powers in World War II.
Yeah, Marge Schott was a monster.
Wow. So, look, man, my point again, she said all these awful things long before.
Well, I think you made a great point on the episode from Monday, which may or may not have made it to air. But if you're gonna take, first of all, University of Cincinnati clown shoes for naming their stadium after Marge Schott in the first place. Second of all, if you're going to take the name down, give the money back. Totally agree.
Her foundation actually does not want the money back, which is fine. But then I say to the University of Cincinnati, if you don't want the $2 million back, then give the money for programs that help minorities or minority scholarships, or, $2 million to help inner city baseball, in those areas, or people that she made offensive comments
about. Or just give it to a local ear piercing parlor and free ear piercings for everybody. Marge Schott is paying for 2 million people to get their ears pierced.
2 million black kids to get their ears pierced.
Yeah, if you want your ears pierced, it's on Marge Schott.
This is probably the best idea I've heard of all this.
And by the way, if you get a small Shotzi earring, they give you $10.
I think you just call it Shotsies.
Yeah, Shotsies.
I
think you go direct to the cost. If they don't want the money back, I think you use it to go straight up what she was against.
Yeah, I love this.
If you're a young black kid in Cincinnati, earrings are on Marge Schott.
And again, it just hits home, Joe, that it didn't take a what I would deem now a cultural revolution that we're in the midst of. It didn't take that to show how awful she was. I knew how awful Marge Schott was in 1995 as a Reds fan.
Yeah, props to the people of Cincinnati, by the way, for calling her out. Like, I feel like there are a lot of Marge Schotts out there, and not a lot of them get the press. Now, maybe she was just terrible with knowing what a microphone looks like, but they canceled her nice and early. And like, honestly, it's a great example of like, that like, if your players have a problem with you and you're a black eye on the game, it's like, I'm not saying everybody should be canceled over their words, but like Marge Schott's a great example of, hey, look, this person should be canceled over words.
Yeah.
Let's look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Where are we on the people using freedom of speech like Colin Kaepernick to the gigantic racist homophobe Marge Schott scale?
Sure. No, I agree. Well, we got to talk the Bubba Wallace thing now that we're discussing some of these issues of race.
Bubble Wallace, is that what they're calling the bubble in for the NBA restart? Wallace?
Yeah.
You said Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace.
Sorry, I'm the earphones. Andy, I'm gonna unplug my earphones just so I can step to. You can keep talking in the Bubba Wallace thing, and I'm going to just get a bottle of water here.
Okay. Well, the FBI has concluded that he was not a victim of a hate crime. FBI did a investigative report, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how the FBI works, but they're claiming he was not a victim of a hate crime, and that noose or whatever it was in the garage has been there since 2019. Now, I had said on last episode I wanted to kind of wait and see this play out. I'll be honest, he's doubling down. A lot of people are still saying it's a noose. I'm in a way just taking a step back. Like, look,
I after hearing everything and seeing videos of it being up there, I have a very honest and basic stance on it, and I don't think that any of this is controversial. I think you're a clown if you're a person that is comparing this to the Jussie Smollett situation, a completely fabricated story that somebody went to the police and made up solely basically for press, because this isn't a completely made up story, and it wasn't by Bubba Wallace who reported it. And yeah, he's doubling down on certain aspects of it, but I'll just say this, like I said on Twitter the other day, you can't really, like, I mean, I made a joke about it, but my point is this: can you really blame a guy who works in Bubba Wallace's crew in a moment in time where nooses are going up all over the country, in black areas, in black parks, that you show up in your garage and you see something that looks like a noose and you jump to that conclusion?
Well, look, I saw your tweet. I don't want to go as far as saying they're going up all over. I don't know what to.
They are going up all over.
I mean, you posted a few news headlines.
I posted it, and I didn't post a few news headlines. I replied to somebody who said, "Are they really going up everywhere?" with a screenshot of just noose plus park in Google. That was not me like going like, "Hey, let's pull every example of this." There's multiple parks in New York City where they've been found. Oakland, Philadelphia, like, it's happening a lot and with regularity now. So the idea that
look, I don't know who's planting those. I don't want to turn into a conspiracy theorist, but I will. I think right now they want us divided as a country. I think a lot of people want us divided, whether that's people from the left, people from the right, Antifa, cops, white supremacists, and I think that's showing in this story. That's why I'm not gonna come with some like heated take, because I don't even know what to make of it.
But but that's what I'm saying. I'm not even coming with what I don't even think this is a heated take. I'm basically saying, if this was some sort of garage pull down that looks like a noose, and this guy goes in and the garage is up and it's hanging, the idea of him jumping to a conclusion because of what you just said, because of everybody wanting us to decide, like that, to me, it doesn't go, oh, the conspiracies, this guy's trying to get press and trying to divide NASCAR and trying to turn Bubba Wallace into some NASCAR hero. Like, I'm giving, sorry if I am not, sorry if my natural reaction to pit crew member of a NASCAR team isn't a Rhodes Scholar, but he just showed up and was like, that's a noose. This is bad. I'm going to call somebody.
Yeah, and I'm not denying it either. That's why I'm saying I'm kind of taking, people will say, oh, that's kind of a bitch way to handle this. But I think my problem now is everybody has to have an opinion and everybody has to have a one side or the other. And I'm just not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with you, Joe. I don't think the comparison to Jesse Smollett is fair. But I also understand that, like, you know, I sent you and Tug a picture of my dad's garage. There is a rope hanging noose-like thing in his garage. That's how it works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think just all these factors are coming together and people are trigger happy to go one way or the other.
And my point is, if Walt decided to sell his house tomorrow and a black family buys it and they're the first black family to move into your neighborhood, and a black guy goes in there and sees that and thinks his neighbor's it, I'm not faulting him in the current time that we're in of jumping to that conclusion.
But again, I think a lot of people want us to do that, want to divide us, when in reality, I think I give people the benefit of the doubt as a whole. And I think we see more eye to eye than the news and social media wants to believe as far as our divisions of race. Does that make sense? I think that there's definitely, I'm not saying that there's not racists out there. I'm not saying that at all, but I think, and I've stood by this point, I think for years now. I think the common person, I give the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's naive, judges somebody by the individual character, not the color of their skin.
Yeah, I think it is a little naive.
Okay, and that's fine. And maybe I'm living in my own little bubble. But I got annoyed going on social media because I couldn't look at it because, again, I see too much doubling down from both sides.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you. And that's the thing, is like, to say that this is a hoax is kind of ludicrous. And to say, like, we don't care what the FBI says, it is a noose, and they knew 2 years ago that he was going to be there and they planned it, that's just as ludicrous.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is what no one's really saying, which is, in this given time where I agree with you that people are divided, the idea of making that honest mistake and going in there and being like, hey man, there's a burning cross in our garage, I'm going to call somebody, and then be like, guys, that's the burning cross garage. Well, that's always been, this is NASCAR. That's the garage 4 has a burning cross in it. What are we talking about? Look at this video from last year. There was a burning cross there. Like, I'm saying, to jump to that conclusion isn't that crazy, considering everything that's going on and everything that's going on in NASCAR.
Sure. No, I like I said, I can see it from multiple angles. Well, look, dude, you have a flight. We had some dirtball questions, but I'd love to get to them next episode.
Let's bang them out.
Well, you always say this. I kind of, like, a little tease them, like get them wanting some more.
We're early. We got 12 minutes. Let's go. Shoot them.
Joe's like, Ruther is trying to wrap this up. Fuck you. You're not going to.
I'm just saying, the one thing I like is that we're rolling in dirtball questions kind of slowly. We get 2 or 3 a week, and next episode we're gonna have more. Next thing you know, we're Charlie's questions getting thrown to the back burner, or Rob's question, or whoever sent it in. We got 2 questions. Let's bang them out.
All right,
Go.
and you guys can DM us at The Dirty Sports on Instagram and Twitter for those questions.
And
right,
as you know, Andy, as I've always said about this show, I can be bought, and I'm not going to make Greg Feldman, who donated money on Venmo, at Joe Prano on Venmo, at Andy-Ruther on Venmo, to have his question answered. Wait another week.
Okay, we'll start with Greg then. Greg asked, what do you think the Colts record with Phillip Rivers will be? Condoms are for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
So, I mean, there's obviously so much up in the air in the NFL, but what I think that the difference between Josie Braccioli and an actual NFL quarterback is the difference between having a great team, which I believe the Colts were, having a great team that you have turned into a loser, and having a great team that is turned into a winner. I think that last year the Colts missed a fantastic opportunity. I don't know how I'm not following the Colts roster enough to know how it's changed from last year to this year, but I think that the Colts missed an opportunity last year to acquire a quarterback for that team. And I also think that Phillip Rivers is 1 year older and 1 year worse than he was last year, and he didn't look fantastic last year. But I think the difference between having a good quarterback and a bad quarterback on a good roster is the difference between a winning team and a losing team. So I think they go from 7-9 to 9-7.
All right, so the Colts on over-under wins as of right now on OddsShark is 9 wins.
Boom. Nailed it.
Okay. All right. Well, look, that'll be the question for the week, because I know I'm gonna have more work to do, and I'm paranoid since you got to fly. Guys, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports. By the way, I didn't even answer the question. I'm gonna put the Colts at 9 as well. I'm not gonna say over. I'm not gonna say under. Follow me at Andy Ruther, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Drop an iTunes review. Drop that Twitter, Instagram handle for a follow back. You got anything else, Prano?
No, at Fix Your Life on Twitter, at Joe Prano on Instagram. That's it. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right, guys. Thank you, Dirtballs, for the support. Get home safely, Prano. I'll be back soon enough. Have a great weekend, Dirtballs. And as always, stay dirty. Okay, so I'm going to end this.
I'm gonna stop recording.